Welcome to today's Energy Transition Technology Chat. I'm joined today by Dan Bladen, co-founder and CEO at Chargifi. Dan, welcome and thanks for taking the time to chat.
Morning, Kevin. Great to see you again.
Dan, we met up at Mobile World Congress back in 2018. For people that don't know you, can you do a quick introduction?
Yeah, my name's Dan, co-founder and CEO at Chargifi. And what to know about me? 3 kids, under 5, slightly crazy time, and doing this wireless charging startup as well. Got a bit of a mixed background, degree in theology, was a musician for a little while. But before that, grew up playing with technology from a very early age, building server components at home, networking people's houses and stuff. And so bit of a geek, musician, and then family guy right now.
Wow, okay. Now, at Chargifi, what are you guys up to?
Yeah, so we're doing for power what Wi-Fi has done for connectivity. And we believe that power is the last thing to be made wireless, right? Every other cable globally has been cut. We don't have an Ethernet cable anymore. And we don't transfer much data from our phones to our laptops over USB anymore. The last cable to be cut is the power cable. So we're doing for power what Wi-Fi has done for connectivity. And the business was founded after my wife and I went traveling around the world for 6 months. We went from South America around to India, basically draw a line on your map behind you there, diving in and out of coffee shops, restaurants, hotel lobbies, looking for that solitary power socket so we could recharge and reconnect with our friends and family back home. And after a while, realized that we didn't have any challenge getting connectivity. You know, that problem had been solved. 3G, 4G, obviously Wi-Fi was really prevalent. Our problem 6 years ago, and you don't need to go traveling around the world for 6 months just to experience the problem in 2019. Our problem was power, simply staying charged. So came back to the UK, knew wireless charging was coming, got together with a close friend, Charlie Cannell, and put the business together, and didn't quite realize at the time that wireless charging was going to take the best part of 4.5 years to get to where it is today, and kind of early stage of mass adoption. But yeah, it's been an incredible journey thus far.
Now, when we met up, one of the things that fascinated me was that you guys were, obviously there was the whole wireless charging technology and whatever, but it wasn't just about the technology. It was about wireless charging as a service and giving folks the insight into how their customers were using wireless charging and the user experience. And it was much bigger than just the technology. So where's that led you guys?
Yeah. So we kind of call it internally a platform for power. So when we started, my dad and I actually started deploying wireless charging into a coffee shop and a juice bar in West London. And very quickly, we realized that we go and deploy this hardware. This is, Q1, Q2, 2013. And very quickly, it would fall over. We'd find that it couldn't support itself, and we get customer call outs, and it provided a bad experience. So knew that it needed this kind of enterprise management platform to support itself, to provide a consistent level of service that our customers could enjoy wireless charging without any of the downsides of it not working, of it not performing as expected. And so built this enterprise management platform around wireless charging to ensure that it could scale. But also on top of that, we started realizing very early on that whether it was a coffee shop, whether it's a hotel, whether it was a workplace, that people wanted to do more than just provide power for their customers. What power is, we at Chargifi think about power as sitting at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You've got self-actualization at the top, you've got shelter, food and water at the bottom. Underneath that, you've got connectivity. Underneath that, we think there's an even bigger wedge of power. Okay. Without power, nothing happens, right? So if you can influence how and when people get access to power, we think you've got the opportunity to influence the rest of their journey. And that could be a customer interaction, or at Chargifi, that could be, in IoT speak, what we call triggering a next best action, which we can talk about, I'm sure, later on. So that's kind of what we set about doing, building this platform around wireless charging. Looked at some companies in the Wi-Fi space. There's really a ton of synergy between what happened in Wi-Fi in the early 2000s, and particularly from this, what we call the Centrino moment, which there's a an ex-Intel guy you'll remember well. When Centrino went into laptops, Wi-Fi went boom. And Wi-Fi all of a sudden didn't have to have dongles to plug in.
Yep.
You could have a laptop with Intel Centrino, and you could go into a Marriott hotel and use Wi-Fi and get onto the internet without a cable. And we think that something very, very similar is now happening in the wireless charging space. So we're incredibly excited about that. But the three companies that really did incredibly well in that space to enable what you and I enjoy today is kind of this enterprise class of Wi-Fi everywhere we go. Most notably, I think Aruba, which was ultimately acquired by HPE, Meraki, that was acquired by Cisco, and Ruckus, that was acquired by Broadcom. These guys recognized that you needed enterprise cloud management to manage, monitor tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Wi-Fi access points to ensure this consistent experience. We believe the same for wireless charging, but the multiples are dramatically different. So if you think about Microsoft's campus in Seattle, they've got 20,000 Wi-Fi access points.
Okay.
If you were to translate that into how many wireless charging spots you'd be deploying per access point in terms of just a pure ratio number, you're talking potentially 60,000, if not 60 to 100,000 wireless charging points that could be deployed, that would need to be managed, monitored, and if they're in a commercial environment, potentially monetized. So one of customers that we work with, Hilton Hotels, they've got 600,000 hotel rooms in North America, right? And they, over the next 10 years, we very much hope they're going to put 1 to 3 wireless charging transmitters per bedroom, plus the bars, the lobbies, the restaurants. So they're going to be asking their technology service provider to manage potentially, upwards of 3 million wireless charging spots, which without Chargifi, there's no real way to manage, monitor, and monetize that experience. So that's what we do. We provide this platform for power to enable the mass deployment of wireless charging so that you can stay powered up in the same way you stay connected like Wi-Fi today.
Wow. Okay. Now, for some folks listening, they'll have heard of wireless power or wireless charging. I'm a Samsung guy, so I bought one of these about 2 years ago. But it was kind of seen as a bit niche, and I needed this device for that phone, and there was no standards and whatever. For folks that aren't keeping up to date with what's going on with the wireless charging industry, what is the status with standards and stuff like that?
Yeah, so what most people don't realize is they've probably been using wireless charging for the best part of the last 15 years or so. Okay. So if you've got an electric toothbrush, 99% of those electric toothbrushes will charge using induction wireless charging. So what we call near field, so very, very near field of charging, you basically have to be touching. But over the last, decade, there has been a bit of a standards war between two wireless charging standards. The Wireless Power Consortium standard called Qi and the Air Fuel Alliance standard of wireless charging. And there's been a bit of a tug of war, a bit of Betamax, VHS style standards battle over the last better part of 5 to 10 years now. But then when the iPhone shipped with wireless charging in the 8, 8 Plus, and 10 in 2017, Apple chose to go with the Wireless Power Consortium, the Qi standard of wireless charging. So a lot of the industry was waiting for Apple to say, we're going to choose Betamax or VHS. We're going to choose Qi over AirFuel. And what that meant was now, and has meant now, that by the end of this year, there's going to be 1 billion devices with wireless charging. And that's not just smartphones, that's going to include headphones as well. So we've just seen from Samsung at Mobile World Congress, their new Galaxy Buds will wireless charge as well. And then, over the coming months and years, we're going to see that trickle out into laptops, into tablets, and into other objects as well. So that's kind of where we are from a standards battle. Right now, consumer electronics are converging around the Qi standard for wireless charging. As I mentioned, what we call, in Chargifi speak, we call near field fast. So you have to put your phone really close to a wireless charging transmitter, but it will charge your phone at the same speed, if not faster, than a cable.
Okay.
And right now, kind of the industry is at 15 watts that's being readily deployed, but we are seeing companies, particularly in Asia, starting to deploy 20-watt charging. We saw at Mobile World Congress, Qualcomm announced that their quick charge standard of charging, Qualcomm Quick Charge, is extending now into wireless charging as well, which is great to see. So if I'm honest, wireless charging has been a bit damaged by cheap wireless chargers being deployed. They're being sold. You can go onto Amazon and buy a $10, $20 wireless charger. And so one of the things customers often ask us is, well, wireless charging is really slow. Why would I want to deploy that? And, the same thing could be said of going onto Amazon and buying any other retailer and buying a very cheap Wi-Fi access point, right? So the wireless charging transmitters that we deploy will charge your phone roughly 50% faster than the iPhone cable, for example, that ships with the box. And so, yeah, that's kind of where the industry's at today from a speed and from a standards perspective. And then there are other technologies evolving as well. So we've got near field fast, and then what we call far field trickle or far field slow, where you're kind of talking from a distance of 1 to 15 feet, and you could be charging a device continuously. We call it in the industry trickle charging. So if you imagine a tap or a leaky faucet slowly just dripping power into a device, and that's going to be coming online. Some of the technologies are already online, but I think that's going to be seriously coming online over the next 2 to 3 years from a commercial perspective.
Now, over the past 12 months, and we've been chatting about various things, a lot of the stuff we were chatting about was, hey, there's folks looking to do wireless charging for drones, for robots. We're seeing things inside in factories getting inductive charging for whatever robot devices. Electric cars, right? There was electric vehicles talking about induction charging. You mentioned to me a couple of weeks back in terms of, hey, if it moves, you can wireless charge it.
Yeah.
Where's all this headed in your world?
Yeah, so you mentioned a ton of acronyms there, right? You've got AGVs, automated guided vehicles for factories. You've got UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles for the sky. You've got EVs. So yeah, anything that moves, whether it's an AirPod headset or case, whether it's a phone, whether it's a tablet, laptop, electric vehicle, drone, we think that the cable is on its final legs over the next 10 years. I don't want my kids growing up really knowing the cable too much. Everything has to go wireless, as Chargifi often says. We believe the future really is wireless. So wireless charging, we believe, is going to go from phones to drones, whether that be somebody wirelessly charging on a hot desk in a shared space or a meeting room here, for example. We've actually announced one of the things that your audience might be interested in about our platform is that charging spots in an office environment, for example, can trigger a ton of other actions. So I can put my phone down on a charging spot in a meeting room, and it will recognize the device or the meeting room that's booked, and it will automatically trigger the Zoom call to start on the screen. If I'm at a hot desk, it will automatically recognize that it's Dan and change the standing height of my on the desk as well. So we're doing a ton of stuff around what we call next best action. So using these Chargifi Smartspots as kind of an all-in-one digital touch point. Putting your phone down, everybody wants power, right? ABC, always be charging. Using that action of putting a device down on a charging spot to then trigger something else is something that we're incredibly excited about and investing a lot of time and resources into. Going back to where that goes from phones to drones, absolutely. So electric vehicles is happening in a big way. We've already seen Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, Audi, Nissan, Kia, Hyundai announce and or release versions of their vehicles that charge wirelessly. Slightly different standard from Qi. You're not going to charge your phone on a wireless charging electric vehicle charger anytime soon. But I'm super interested in what this means, not just for the convenience of users, no longer having to lug a cable out of the car or pull a cable that's damp off of the side of at a gas or petrol station. I was in Manchester Square in central London the other day. It was chucking it down with rain. a lady was charging her BMW. She had in one hand an umbrella. She had under her arm here the charging cable, and in the other hand she had her NFC card to unlock the and I was just like, dude, that's not the way this should be happening, right? So our vision, and it's shared amongst the industry, is that you will pull up your electric vehicle over a wireless charging pad or a pad embedded into the tarmac, and your car will start to charge wirelessly. Right now, the industry is at kind of a 90 to 95% efficiency from grid to battery, which is really, really cool. Not many people know that. And the higher the power, the more efficient things get and become as well. So you may have seen, we've also just announced from a team member perspective. So not only have we just brought on Kirti Melkote, who's was the founder at Aruba, who did Wi-Fi, what we're looking to do for wireless power and get it to a scale. He's recently joined our board. We've also just announced that Nadeem Sheikh, who's VP of Autonomy at Lyft, has joined our advisory board. And so at Chargifi, we believe that wireless charging is really the dark horse for the coming world of autonomous vehicles. You know, cars that are autonomous do not have arms to plug themselves in. And yes, there are lovely robotic arms that can plug vehicles in and other bits and pieces like that. But we believe that wireless charging is going to play a key ingredient in that future of autonomy. So whether it's an Uber or a Lyft or insert other fleet ride-sharing company here, that drops you off and picks you up one day, we believe that those vehicles will have access to a network of wireless charging pads, transmitters, whether that's in people's driveways, right? And they do an Airbnb style, and an Uber goes and parks itself in your driveway because you've got a spare pad, or whether it's in a just outside of the city parking lot that's run by a fleet company, where they're plowing in 1,000 vehicles into a very tight space at nighttime, and they're not going to have the capacity and or the room to plug in 1,000 different vehicles. They're all going to have to just be wireless charging because they're going to want to park them very, very closely. So wireless charging is happening for EVs in a big way. We're expecting it to start in luxury. We're seeing it starting in luxury with the BMW 5 Series, the 530e, and we're expecting to see it kind of hit more of the mass market early 2020s, 2021, 2022 is when you can really start to see it coming to the fore. So in the same way that we recognize, the device ID of a phone today, a tablet, we're looking to do the same for electric vehicles, and then trigger a next best action after that. That could be, imagination can run wild. That can be a myriad of different things. But that's where we're going. Phones to drones. As a product-orientated CEO, I really want to see Chargifi having fleets of drones on our network that touch down on rooftops, on wireless charging pads, that are spraying crops, that are delivering health care, first aid to people in certain situations. And we just want to provide the fuel wirelessly to that whole, I guess, coming future. So platform for power, phones to drones. The world's going electric, and we think that electric's going wireless.
Now, you mentioned with some of the additions to the team recently, you're bringing folks in from, let's say, the energy utility industry and knowledge there. I spend most of my time chatting to energy companies, utilities, and the whole energy transition and whatever. So most utilities are all looking at the electric vehicle charging, so pull up, plug in. With the world you're envisaging with wireless charging, of if it moves or even if it doesn't move, you'll wireless charge it. Where do you see the energy provider of the future fitting into all this? Are the utilities engaged in wireless charging? Is it the Starbucks and the Hilton are going to do it, or is it all up for grabs?
You know what? It's a strange mix in the consumer, what we call the consumer electronic world of wireless charging. So wireless charging for phones that gets deployed in coffee shops, hotels, stadiums, and in workplace. There's a real divergence of physical meets digital, and digital trying to meet physical, right? So there is right now, there is kind of really no specified buyer. There's no one person that you always go to sell something. With Wi-Fi, you go and talk to the IT director, right, to get the sale. Wireless charging can either sit with facilities, it can sit with IT, it can sit with marketing, it can sit with, and we see it increasingly sit with HR actually, because it's all about workplace experience.
Okay.
So in the same way, I think it's entirely open for electric vehicles for wireless charging as well. And without a doubt, charging companies could repurpose their existing infrastructure for wireless charging. They could attach a pad to their substation or charger that's already there, right? But you know, McDonald's are the largest owner of parking lots in the world. And they are starting to deploy wireless charging as well. Starbucks, McDonald's, they have drive-throughs. Yeah. One can only imagine that whilst the human is topping up on caffeine and getting more power, that's a quick
getting juiced.
A quick juice for the electric vehicle might be an opportunity as well. We've already had at Chargifi some of our one in particular hotel clients say, we would love the level of analytics that you've got on the wireless charging pads in our lobby over the parking lot chargers that we have here as well. We've got one of our Chargifi goes to the market through partners, so we sell through managed service providers and systems integrators. We've already got one of our managed service providers wanting to actively go out and commandeer the parking lots of hotels for the future of wireless charging that's coming. So I think the key point is where people realize that they've got an asset and they can flip that asset into making money for them as well. So it's where two kind of return on investment use cases meet, right? We've seen it with Airbnb. Someone's got a spare room, someone's got a cabin out back. It's an unutilized or underutilized resource. That might be the same for a parking lot, right? That is not that busy on a Wednesday afternoon. All of a sudden, we'll welcome in a fleet of UPS vans, of DHL vans, etc. So, you know, I see there being a ton of different stakeholders in it. From an infrastructure play, and then from an energy supplier play, you've obviously got the utility companies, but at the same time, there's no reason why a Marriott hotel, for example, couldn't have a substation of batteries out back that could be on the powering the hotel, but also then powering the electric vehicle charging in the space as well. So I do see there being a ton of disruption over the next 10 years in this space. At Chargifi, we like to talk about different horizons, so Horizon 1, 2, and 3. This is certainly what we see in Horizon 3 happening over the next decade. We don't see wireless charging for electric vehicles and the provision of power to that being megally disruptive in the next 5 years or so, though we'll start to see that happening in a small way. And what we're trying to do is kind of put stakes in the ground, tanks on the lawn, in those markets, get early proof of concepts done, and go from there. But it's an incredibly interesting space. We get approached by utility companies every now and again for insight, also partnerships, because you know it's going to mean a lot to their businesses, not just from a national grid load balancing perspective, but it's going to mean a lot to their businesses from a revenue perspective as well. So, yeah, we're excited.
No, it is a fascinating. When you think of the capabilities, you know, and the wireless charging of things is cool technology, but I think you called it, you know, the insights you didn't get, or the using the real estate or the asset or the parking garage, and then the next best action in terms of how do you monetize that with other things and whatever. That's joining those dots. That's where I think it's fascinating. You know, we talk about the energy transition and whatever. The mind boggles in terms of how I procure power for just driving around. We were chatting 12 months ago. We all knew where the power points were in different airports, right? where you could find the plug behind the coffee machine to plug whatever. Yeah, that world's changing, right? So it's fascinating.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting, and what I love about it is that it brings about a ton of creativity, right? And what we're really passionate about is how you can create a world and a network that has the right priorities at the right time. How can you make sure that, you know, let's take a ride sharing company that's, let's say the vehicle's only got 10% power left. How do you make sure that that's in the right place at the right time for its next journey with the right amount of power, to get the most bang for the buck for that owner? How do you, when you have your 2 Model S's out back, Kevin, how do you make sure that once you finish with them at 6 o'clock at night and they go and make you money autonomously for you over the next 10 years, that they are getting access to power at the best possible rate, yep. Right? It's all of those things that we believe there needs to be a connective tissue for, and excited to play a small role in that.
No, hey, I wish you guys well. So Dan, just before we wrap up, if people want to find out or want to connect with yourself or find out more about Chargifi, where do we send them?
Yeah, head along to chargifi.com. Particularly if you're looking to deploy wireless charging in your environment, be that a workplace, hotel, stadium, coffee shop, we would love to hear from you.
Dan, we'll add all those links and your own contact details and stuff as we post this out. But Kamir, thank you very much for taking the time to have a chat.
Nate, always good to chat. Thanks, Kevin.
Take care. Thank you.